आपको आपके भाई आदिल राजा का सलाम पहुंचे, and with you is your beloved, actually, Sami Hamdi. The kind of feedback I'm getting from you tells me that you really love Sami Hamdi, and a lot of Muslim Ummah love Sami Hamdi, and for all the right reason. And I am also one of them. So welcome to the show, Sami Hamdi. And you're very kind enough to give us some time today. I know you're very busy because of this Palestine-Israel war going on, and because of the analysis regarding that war. Now, Sami, starting straight away without going into, niceties or formalities, you tweeted this tweet, and I retweeted it as well, which is shown on the screen, and it is viral right now. 40K likes only, and millions of views. 1 million views almost. You said that the Asim Munir, you did a satirical tweet over there, and you pointed at the army chief. You addressed the army chief, the illegally appointed army chief of the Pakistan army. You said Asim Munir should at least release Imran Khan for a day to make a speech reflecting Pakistan's. Let me just. I'm really sorry because I'm not able to read it on the screen. You said that reflecting Pakistan and the wider Ummah's sentiment on Palestine. At the moment, all we have is Erdogan talk of restraint from all parties, and bin Salman's monitoring the unprecedented situation. So why do you think, Sami Hamdi, that Imran Khan is the only leader who can represent Muslim Ummah at this critical juncture? That is the first question, please.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you, Adil, for having me, and thank you for the generous words, and thank you to anybody who's watching this. I think it's important to put this tweet into context. So the Palestinians have launched an unprecedented attack on the Israeli occupation, on the Israeli colonizers. And to put it into context, it's the first time since 1948 that the Palestinians have taken back land from the Israelis. They've taken those settlements that are around the Gaza border. They've taken, and that's why the Israelis, for the first time since 1973, have declared a state of war. You would imagine that as a result of this unprecedented action, that the stance of the Muslim nations would be something that is stronger in support of the Palestinians, who have taken it upon themselves to resist the Israelis without the support of the Muslim states that perhaps should be providing the support that the Americans provide the Israelis. The reason I tweeted that is because if you look at the statements that are coming out of the Muslim nations, the reality is they fall far short of what is expected. Erdogan, for example, the president of Turkey, his statement suggests that he is very careful not to offend Netanyahu. He doesn't want to upset the Israelis while he's chasing a joint gas pipeline and while he's chasing an alternative economic corridor to the Middle East corridor that was announced in India, between India, Saudi Arabia, the UAE. Erdogan wants an alternative corridor, and therefore his statement was not condemning Israel for what is happening, but calling for restraint on all sides, a very neutral statement, something that suggests that Turkey doesn't want to get involved in this mess, and it wants this problem to go away quickly so that Erdogan can talk to Netanyahu again. The Saudi statement was one in which is better than previous statements. For those who don't know, under bin Salman, there has been a reduction in the way that, in the use of the word occupation and colonization in Saudi statements. Bin Salman has got his team not to use this word very often in order not to upset the Israelis as he's pursuing normalization of ties. The fact that bin Salman used colonization in this statement on this issue shows that he's very concerned about the public opinion. He's worried about that, whether the Palestinians might actually achieve something, and is very wary about being seen to be too close to the Israelis, and he's retreating until he has a better picture as to who is in the ascendancy before he decides where to go towards normalization or not. The idea being that bin Salman wants to normalize with Israel, but the Palestinian success and the Palestinian momentum is making him withdraw a bit and use the word colonization. The UAE statement is disinterested. We want to see de-escalation, we want to see restraint on all parties, wassalamu alaikum, and we are going to continue with normalization of ties with Israel. All three of these statements from these major Muslim powers fall far short of what we expect of Muslim nations. Now you compare that with Imran Khan, who was very loud despite people telling him not to be loud, who was very loud on issues of Palestine and Kashmir when the Saudis and the UAE wanted him to be more quiet, who was very loud on Palestine when the UAE were normalizing ties with Israel and when Saudi Arabia was flirting with normalization, who was very loud on Kashmir when Saudi Arabia was trying to woo Narendra Modi, trying to win over Narendra Modi, when the UAE was boosting its ties with Narendra Modi. You'll remember that when the BJP official insulted the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and our beloved mother Aisha radiallahu anha, you will remember that Modi's first visit after the uproar from the Muslim countries, the first Muslim country that helped to rescue Narendra Modi was the UAE. For the UAE, Narendra Modi is such an important ally and important friend that to hell with the Muslim public opinion, we want to maintain these ties. Modi needed help. He needed to be invited to a Muslim country because he was worried about the backlash. He was releasing statements, suspending his officials, trying to tell the Muslim government. He was worried that there would be economic reprisals on oil and the like. Instead, the UAE said to Modi, Ta'ala, come to the UAE, come and visit us. We are technically a Muslim country and we will help you in your propaganda, in your PR push to say that you are not anti-Muslim, even though you're cracking down on the Muslims. Imran Khan, despite the pressure from UAE and Saudi to be quiet about these issues, otherwise they would withdraw investments, or otherwise they would be alienated. You remember the Kuala Lumpur summit that we talked about in the previous interview? Imran Khan still was very loud, very unapologetic. If you remember the UN speech when he is describing the situation of the Palestinians and the Israelis, he didn't do it in a way that suggested that there was no empathy, but he put the situation as it is. When you blockade the people and deny their rights for 70 years, when a country 7 times bigger gives you 2 choices, either surrender or to be erased, Imran Khan said any logical human being would choose to fight for their freedom and for their liberation. Imran Khan put it quite bluntly at the UN, knowing that criticizing Israel carries repercussions and carries consequences, unfortunately these days, not just from the US, but also from the Arab states itself. And this is why I put out this tweet, to say to people that in this Muslim ummah, there was a leader who was unapologetic about the stances with regards to Palestine, who was not cautiously trying not to offend Netanyahu as Erdogan is doing, who was not trying to appease Netanyahu as the UAE is doing, who was not trying to play pragmatic politics, trying to rescue normalization in the way that Saudi was doing. The ummah does have a leader whose name is Imran Khan, who has stood up before, who understood the consequences of doing so, and who I believe, without exaggeration, I'm not saying Imran Khan is perfect, who I believe that if he was Prime Minister of Pakistan today, his statement would be the strongest in condemning the Israelis and the strongest in support of the Palestinians in this unprecedented offensive in which the Palestinians have reminded the world that no matter how much normalization between Israel and the Arab regimes, it doesn't erase the Palestinians, and the Palestinian cause is still alive.
Do you think that's the reason Imran Khan is not in power, and that's why an American-sponsored regime change operation had thrown him away from power, and his own army revolted against him on the instructions of America or for their own vested interest as well? Do you think that's the reason why? Because he was becoming a leader of the Muslim Ummah, he has been thrown in the gallows, don't mind me saying, in the prison behind bars?
I think that one of the reasons that I think there are 2 reasons why Imran Khan was toppled. The first reason is his daring to use a democratic mandate to impose on the army chief who should be the successor and who should be intelligence chief, appointing positions that the army believe no civilian is allowed to appoint. The second point is that Imran Khan was building a foreign policy whose power stems from popular support, not from international support. Imran Khan was building a foreign policy that Pakistanis could have a stake in, that they could support, the idea of greater Muslim unity, the idea of warmer ties with Muslim countries, the idea of taking stronger stances on Muslim issues, issues that Pakistanis would be willing to lend their support for, as opposed to a foreign policy where the US squeezes Pakistan, threatens Pakistan, strong arms Pakistan into taking positions that are counter to Pakistani interests. I think Imran Khan was removed because he was one of the first leaders in a very long time that was pursuing a foreign policy where the support was from Pakistan, not from the US or other international powers.
Thank you so very much. So, I mean, coming back to the main issue over here, the Israel-Palestine conflict going on right now, looking at the geopolitical situation where the Western countries are backing up Ukraine definitely against Russia for their own for their own interest, for their own reasons, for them right or wrong, that's a separate debate. But they're definitely supporting themselves from Russia, it seems. But that is a major war already going on in the world right now. This war and the way Iran is celebrating this war and the kind of weapons being used by Hamas, and the kind of modern weapons being used by Hamas. Is there a possibility that Russia is supporting Hamas and Iran is definitely supporting Hamas? There's no secret about it. But which all countries are supporting Hamas in this entire geopolitical contest? And do you think that the Ukraine war has got its shadows? The Russians are, giving a payback to the West through the onslaught of Hamas, and that's why Hamas is so powerful over here. That is one thing. And secondly, why the Egyptians are coming in for the humanitarian aid. Why they're being allowed to do that, that is also a big question.
I think that there's been a lot of focus on Iran and Russia and a lot of focus on Ukraine with regards to what's happening. But there are two things that are worth noting. The first is that the Hamas and the Iranians are not entirely on good terms. Iran, as in exchange for its support for Hamas, wanted to set up Husseyniyat. It wanted to set up Shia cultural centers in Gaza. And the Palestinians rejected that. The Palestinians are overwhelmingly Muslims of the Sunni Islam, and they rejected Iran's bid to essentially try to spread their ideology. And that resulted in a criticism. And also there was a leaked phone call by one of the senior Hamas leaders in which he said that the Iranians exaggerate in the support that they give us. They talk a lot, but the reality of what they give us doesn't match their talk. And that's why now, right at the moment, he's persona non grata in Iran. So I think that we shouldn't exaggerate the level of support that the Iranians have given Hamas. It's true they've given support where the other Arab states have not given support. That's true. But the reason I make this point is so that we do not underestimate how far the Palestinians have come in their capabilities to resist Israel. That the Palestinians are demonstrating that they don't need to rely on the Arab regimes, that they have developed the power and the capability as a result of their desire for freedom and liberation to challenge this colonizer in the same way the Algerians resisted the French once upon a time, in the same way that the people resisted the British and the like. This is the Palestinian efforts and the Palestinian fighting that is resulting in these gains that are being made. The second point that is worth making.
Where are they getting the logistics from then? That's a big question then.
I think the Iranians have certainly sent advisors. I think in the past they've sent missiles. I think in the past they've sent weapons. But Hamas has also been showcasing, and indeed the other Palestinian resistance, they've been showcasing homemade weapons. They've been showcasing weapons that they've been able to make within themselves, which are not a match necessarily for Israel's state-of-the-art technology, but certainly capable enough to cause the damage to Israel that they've done. Think, for example, to help people to understand it better, the Palestinians, to access Israel, they shot 5,000 makeshift rockets to distract the Iron Dome, and then used makeshift paragliders to glide in from Gaza into Israel. So they didn't use helicopters or F-16s or the like. They used the basic paragliding that you would do in the Switzerland mountains, or in the Hunza Valley, for example. You'd go for a nice holiday or the like. But they used those makeshift.
Please don't mind me interrupting.
Go ahead,
because you've given us very short time. This time the reports are coming in that they're using drones, which are using weaponized drones, and the only people who can provide them with that technology are the Russians. What do you think? Are the Russians helping them out? I mean, it sounds logical if they're helping them out, but do you think they're helping them out?
I don't think that the Russians have an interest in opening a new front with regards to Israel and Palestine. I actually think that the Russians and the Israelis have been trying to improve their ties with each other. They've been trying to improve and expand on their ties. And one thing that's worth noting is that Israel has been under heavy criticism from the Americans for not providing support to Ukraine, for not backing the Ukrainian effort against Russia. And many believe it's because Israel doesn't want to alienate Russia. It wants to stay away from alienating Russia. So I think that even if the Russians, and I don't think that the Russians are involved in this, but I do think that it's important to stress that this is overwhelmingly a Palestinian effort. And this is overwhelmingly about the Palestinians developing their technology. They've had help from Iran in the past, but those relations aren't as good. I think that when you look at Hezbollah on the Lebanese border and their reluctance to intervene, and even the rockets that they fired it at contested areas to send a message to the Israelis to say, look, we want to show we support Hamas, but we don't want an all-out conflict, suggesting that the Iranian proxies are not interested in getting into a full-out conflict in order to help Hamas against the Israelis. I think that the ones who are overplaying the Iran hand are the Israelis themselves, in order to try to tell the world that this is not the Palestinians showing power, but this is Iran, that the Palestinians are powerless and we are going to beat them and we are close to beating them, but it's Iran that's preventing us from beating them, when the reality is that this is the Palestinians showing that no matter how many normalized states there are with Israel, the Palestinians are ready to fight for their cause, and their cause is still alive.
I think you've already concluded this point very well in your tweet, in which you said that the launching of the most consequential attack Israel in decades is a resounding message that no amount of normalization of ties between Israel and Arab regimes can erase the Palestinian people, the Palestine cause, and the sweeping sympathies in the Arab and Muslim world. I think you've really summarized it quite well, and this speaks for the emotions of the entire Muslim Ummah. Now, amongst the Muslim Ummah, the most powerful military force, the only nuclear armed country, is Pakistan and the Pakistan army. What do you think, Sami Hamdi, are the expectations of the Muslim Ummah from Pakistan and the Pakistan army in this context, in the Israel and Palestine war?
I think that, look, to be honest, I think that Asim Munir and the Prime Minister Kakar and these others, I think that they've missed an opportunity here. They could have come out with a strong support for Palestine. They could have come out and undermined Imran Khan and said, we are Pakistan, we stand with the Palestinians and we reject what the Israelis are doing. They could have given a speech like the way Imran Khan gave at the UN or the like. And I think that the Muslim Ummah might have reacted and said, you know what, Imran Khan might be in prison, but this Pakistani leadership still has its heart is with the Muslim causes or the like. But I think the reason they did it, or the reason they took time to release a statement, the reason why there is no passion in the Pakistani statements is because where Imran Khan sincerely believed in these causes, where Imran Khan managed to cause a crisis in Pakistan amongst the Pakistani establishment because his convictions were beginning to be demonstrated in his policies, I think this current establishment doesn't have the same convictions. I think that what we're seeing in Pakistan is, instead of looking after the Muslim issues or even looking at the Pakistani public opinion, I think they're monitoring Washington sentiments. They are monitoring Riyadh sentiment in Saudi Arabia. They are monitoring UAE sentiments. They are monitoring the international sentiments on the basis that those international support is more important than the Pakistani support. International backing is more important than the Pakistani popular opinion. International backing will enable the establishment to keep the Pakistani people under control and allow them to uphold a system in which they benefit at the expense of the Pakistani people. And that's why they missed the opportunity to take advantage to deliver a political blow to Imran Khan. They could have come out and said, you love Imran Khan for Muslim causes. Look at us, we are also love these Muslim causes. But because they lack the conviction, and it's important to highlight this point, because there are many people who criticize and say that you support Imran Khan, but in tangible things, he didn't do much. Imran Khan became popular because his convictions and sincerity showed in the way that he talked about these causes, which led the Muslim Ummah to believe that if you support Imran Khan and give him time and give him the power, he will be able to do great things. It's not about what Imran Khan did, it's about the potential of what Imran Khan could do as a result of the convictions and sincerity that he displayed in taking these positions that came at a political cost for Imran Khan. Some people will say at a political cost to Pakistan, but I disagree. I think they made Pakistan stronger. And that's the crux of the issue here, in that going back to the idea of the tweet that I put out when I said to Asim Munir, please release Imran Khan, at least let him give a speech for a day. It was to say to Asim Munir that, look, the reason Imran Khan is popular is because he has something that you don't have. He cares. He has convictions. He has a sincerity about issues that we care about and issues that we are ready to support him in. If you, Asim Munir, show these same convictions, you will be able to win the same sympathies from the Muslim Ummah. But the reason he can't do it is because he lacks the convictions and the sincerity. And that's why Imran Khan is in prison. Because Imran Khan's convictions and sincerity, even if there are mistakes and there is room for criticism of Imran Khan, but that conviction and that sincerity had the potential to allow Imran Khan to completely alter the Pakistani political system and Pakistan's role in the Muslim Ummah. And I think the establishment were terrified of what change this might bring. And they were more comfortable with the status quo, in which they liaise with Washington, in which they liaise with Riyadh, in which they liaise with the UAE. And Pakistan operates within American foreign policy, not within its own independent one.
Final question, Sami Hamdi. There's a lot of people in the Muslim Ummah as well as abroad, but let's talk about Muslim Ummah who are criticizing Hamas, saying that whatsoever Hamas is doing is going to have repercussions. They're only having repercussions for the normal Palestinian people who does not want all this, what Hamas is doing. Now, but there are people in the, amongst the Palestinians themselves saying such things as well. What do you have to say to them? Do you think Hamas is making a mistake over there? Do you think going with all the homemade weapons or whatever you're saying, they're going in and conducting such a huge strike? Do you think they've made a mistake, and it is the normal Palestinian people who will be paying the cost of their mistakes, cost of whatsoever is going on? What do you think about that? What do you have to say to those people who are criticizing Hamas for doing what they're doing?
Let's say you have guests in your house, and your guests, they kick you out of your house and they take over your house. And you start throwing stones at the window. You start telling them, please give me back my house. They say no. You go to the police. He says, no, you can't take your house back because these guys have nowhere to go. You throw stones at the house to say, give me back my house. And your brother walks past you and says, why are you throwing stones at the house? Don't you know what they can do to you? You say, but it's my house. I want my house back. He tells you, don't. You're going to make things worse. Then they take your land. Then they take your farm. And your brother walks past you and says, why are you shouting? Why are you fighting for your land and your house? You're going to make it worse on all of us. Then they take your city, and then they take your home. Then they drive out your people. And your brother walks past you and he says, why are you fighting for your home? Why are you fighting for your land? Why are you causing all this problem, all this crisis for your home and your land? Why don't you stay in this prison that they've prepared for you, this open air prison that is Gaza? Then they squeeze you in Gaza and they keep taking more lands. Every time they sign a deal, they take more lands. And your brother walks past you and says, don't fight, don't fight. Listen, they may be in your house and in your land, but you're going to make it worse. And then in the new home that you've built, in the new land that you've taken, they come and take that home, they come and take that land, and they push you to the coast by the sea. And your brother walks past you and says to you, why do you fight? Why do you shout? You're going to make it worse. They took the home in the beginning, they took our new home and the like. And then their leader who took the home, the biggest thief, he lifts a map at the UN that erases your country entirely. He says, this is the future of the Middle East. And your brother walks past you and says, why do you fight? Why do you fight? What is the point in fighting? The guy is coming to ethnically cleanse you. He's coming to kill you. He's coming to erase you, to erase your culture. And the brother has the nerve. he dares to turn around and say to the victim, to his oppressed brother, why do you fight? Why do you cry for your home and the like? When if he was in that position, he would never accept it. That's why I referred to Imran Khan in that UN speech when he said, when the choice is between surrender or eradication, I will fight for my freedom. I will fight for Imran Khan, any ordinary person. His message was that any sane human being would continue to fight. So there are people who are saying that why is Hamas doing it? They are going to make it worse. But I think these people are misguided. I think these people lack empathy. And I think these people lack an appreciation of the situation on the ground, because their argument is built on the premise that Israel wants a two-state solution, but Israel doesn't. Netanyahu makes no secret of it. Netanyahu's dream is to seize all of Palestine and make it into Israel and to kick the Palestinians out of that land. And I think not a single Muslim has the right to say to the Palestinians how they should resist that, because if la qadar Allah, one day it were to happen to you, as it's happening in Kashmir that you can see just across the border, as we see in other Muslim states, the reality is that at the end of the day, freedom is not given, it's taken. And I think we should be supporting our Palestinian brothers because it's a just cause. And on the final point, it's worth noting this. Remember, this is a world that 60 years ago was supporting apartheid in South Africa. This is a world 80 years ago we had official colonization. Let me make that clear. In France in 1945, when France was liberated from Nazi Germany, France celebrated in Paris and wrote a UN charter that every man is born equal, that never again will a war happen. And at the same time, it massacred 40,000 Algerians in Stif in Algeria, because the Algerians thought that this new declaration of freedom applied to everyone. They said, oh, we want freedom as well, we want independence. And France said, absolutely not. And the Algerians took the freedom back from the French and they turfed the French. I think that those who say that Hamas or the Palestinians or like need to take a deep, hard look at themselves in the mirror, because what they're doing is an oppression that perhaps might even be worse than what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians.
Freedom is not gifted, but it's taking an important message from this talk with Sami Hamdi. Thank you so very much, Sami Hamdi, for giving us time. Hopefully see you again.
Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.